Hello, my name is David Jackson, and I will be talking about Chapter 15, Psychology of Cycling.
During this presentation, I will be talking about the intro to cycling, types of road races, psychology of cycling, overtraining, team roles / drug use, and I also have a few articles to share about as well. Road racing takes place in open streets, cities, and also country roads. Spectators are allowed to be closer than any other sport. The conditions of the race course can also vary. Not all surfaces are smooth, some are bumpy, and some even have holes. Unlike other sports, cycling will proceed through any type of weather. This could be rain, snow, sunshine, cloudy day, any type of weather. The professional cycling season can last up to 9 months, with each cyclist anywhere from 90 to 110 races per year. Practicing for races, cyclists will ride 25 to 30 hours a week. This also means more time for competition and less time with family. Each race will have about 20 teams with 10 riders per team for a total of around 200 riders per race event. There are 3 types of races: single day races, time trials, stage races. Single day races are completed in one day and are basically a race that goes from one point to the next. These races are normally between 2 cities or towns. Cyclists learn to exert all their energy for this single day because they don't have to save that energy for another race day. Time trial races are races that go from point to point. Cyclists will leave the starting line between 30 seconds to 2 minutes after the cyclist before them. This is also a single race event that the cyclists have to rely on themselves without their team to go through it. These races require that cyclists highest amount of focus. The cyclists do not want to exert all their energy in the first part of the race, so they have to build mental strength to focus on their exertion throughout the whole race. Stage races are multiple day events that are either point to point or circuit races. These races have a requirement that the cyclists complete the stage to move on. Stage races require the most physical demand of all. The Tour de France is 20 stages and lasts up to 3 weeks. Cyclists are tested to their utmost abilities to perform at high levels. The psychology of cycling. Every sport is difficult or requires an important part of physical ability to compete. Cycling has everything you can think of, mentally, physically, and even the environment. The response a cyclist has to being physically drained can determine their future of the race. Cyclists have to overcome such important and thrilling battles to be able to win races. Intensity isn't always needed to be at the highest exertion. Riders have to cope and deal with the right kind of intensity. Riders learn to choose when the intensity needs to increase and then when the intensity needs to calm down. Young riders sometimes face troubles with the ability to slow their intensity down and physically drains them, and this doesn't allow them to finish races. Now, race intensity can determine a rider's finishing place, and intensity during the race can change almost instantly because of danger or frustration among the riders. Everyone deals with frustration, but it's how they handle it. It depends on if they drain themselves out or cope with it to prolong the race and finish ahead. Having intensity that is too low can also create a rider to fall back or miss breakaways to advance positions. Overtraining among cyclists. Overtraining in any sport is a tough subject. Some don't believe in overtraining, but others assume training 3 times a day is overtraining. This chapter explains cyclists are a very motivated group of individuals. Overtraining does occur with cyclists because of the amount of training they do that requires so much physical exertion. If you combine the motivated aspect and the need to train so much, this is how we get the overtraining part of a cyclist. Also, poorly planning their workouts can cause overtraining, and also declines endurance, strength, and flexibility. As an athlete of any sport, they do not spend enough time with recovery, and this is the most important aspect to performing at the highest levels. Preventing overtraining starts with their bodies and how their bodies react to certain trainings. The best prevention of overtraining is to focus on what their bodies are telling them. Certain things like fatigue, pain, and injury are key signs of what overtraining is doing to their bodies. Riders have to have confidence in their training programs and recovery process to be able to perform again at the highest levels. Team roles / drugs. Cyclists have teammates and everyone has a role. There is a team leader that has goals to accomplish, while there are teammates that help him accomplish his goals. Different positions will provide cover for the leader of the team, like blocking the wind or getting him food or water. Sometimes in a single day events, the teammates won't even be able to finish the race because of the power they had exerted at the beginning of the race. Different races require different needs for the teammates. Sprinters are the type of teammates that can ride at high speeds for several hundred kilometers. They are also the most fearless, who put themselves in the most dangerous situations for the leader. Drugs. The most known drug use among cyclists is the Lance Armstrong case, where he was stripped of 6 Tour de France medals because of his use of steroids. Cyclists have a strong urge to use performance enhancement drugs because of the benefits they get out of it. Sports psychologists can play an important role to prevent a rider from taking drugs. The sports psychologists can also teach mental training that can improve their performance instead of taking the performance enhancement drugs. The first article I chose was the development of doping use in high-level cycling, from team-organized doping to advances in the fight against doping. This article starts off talking about how the increase of doping tests have decreased the number of users, but also with the steady growth of the sport, new users are always starting and finding ways to use the performance enhancement drug. They are aware that no matter what goes on, the use of performance enhancement drugs will continue throughout lifetime, and someone somewhere will always have the ability to provide it to them. The researcher hopes that the ability to come up with a program that some medical personnel can use to try to prevent cyclists from using these drugs. They hope one day that the drug use among cyclists will disappear because of the effect it has on the athletes and how much time it wastes from them. The next article I chose was Role Played by the Coach and Adolescent Players' Commitment. This article is a little different and talks about how a coach affects the performance and behavior of a young athlete. The reason I decided to pick this article was because just as much as a coach has a role, so do other teammates. And as I talked about earlier, cyclists have a team within one leader, and basically the teammates help to try and win the race for the leader. Coaches are the same way. Every coach wants to win games, but has to lead his team to victory. We help athletes become their best and lead them along the way. It is important for people to help you through life because without them, you will exert too much energy to be able to finish the race. As in cyclists, they cannot exert too much energy at the beginning of the race or they won't be able to finish. Cyclists are high-level athletes and deserve to be treated just like everyone else. They perform for 9 months out of the year to try to win events, just like every other athlete. Everyone is competitive, but can athletes like cyclists perform it day in and day out, mentally and physically, to achieve the highest level of performance. I believe cyclists have a special heart for what they do and what motivates them. In return, they deserve a lot more recognition for how they perform.